The sound of tearing fabric cut through the noise of roaring engines. A biker's hand was clenched tightly around the front of an old man's shirt, and with one violent pull, the cloth ripped straight down the middle. People at the gas station froze. Music stopped. Laughter died. Even the engines seemed quieter. "Learn your place," the biker snarled, tossing the torn fabric aside. "You don't belong here." The old man didn't stumble. He didn't shout. He didn't even flinch. He simply looked down at the ripped shirt, as if noticing it for the first time. A few seconds passed, long, uncomfortable seconds, and the biker laughed loudly, enjoying the attention. "Look at him," he said to his friends. "Can't even stand up for himself." Someone nearby whispered, "Man, that guy's crazy." Another muttered, "This won't end well." But not for the reason they thought. The old man slowly lifted his head. His eyes were calm, not scared, not angry. Just steady. Focused. "Son," he said quietly, his voice barely louder than the wind. "That wasn't necessary." The biker stepped closer, chest puffed out, boots scraping against the concrete. "What are you gonna do about it, Grandpa?" Phones came out. A few people started recording. The biker smirked, certain he had already won. The old man glanced around, at the crowd, the bikes, the circling tension in the air. Then he did something no one expected. He smiled. Not a weak smile. Not a nervous one. A knowing smile. That's when the crowd felt it. The air changed. A woman near the pumps frowned. "I don't like this," she whispered. An older man squinted, studying the stranger's face. "Wait. I've seen him before." The biker noticed it too, the sudden silence, the shifting looks, and his grin faltered for just a moment. "Hey," he barked. "Don't stare at him like that." The old man took a slow breath and straightened his posture. "You judge strength by noise," he said calmly. "That's a mistake." The biker laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. Big words for a guy in a ripped shirt. The old man met his eyes. "And ripping it," he added, "was the last easy thing you'll do today." The crowd held its breath. Because in that moment, everyone understood. This wasn't a victim standing there. It was a storm that hadn't decided to move yet. The gas station sat alone on the edge of the highway, the kind of place people stopped at only when they had no better option. Sunlight baked the concrete, and the smell of fuel mixed with dust and hot metal. A pack of motorcycles lined the front, chrome flashing, engines growling like restless animals. This wasn't their first stop here. The bikers treated the place like their territory. They laughed loudly, blocked the pumps, and stared down anyone who looked uncomfortable. Most people paid quickly and left. Nobody wanted trouble. At the center of it all stood the biker who had ripped the shirt. Tall, broad, confident in the way men are when they've never been challenged. His leather vest was covered in patches. His arms were crossed, showing off tattoos that told stories of fights, roads, and broken rules. To him, fear was respect, and he enjoyed both. When Chuck Norris walked in, no one noticed at first. He didn't announce himself. He didn't demand attention. He parked a few steps away from the bikes and walked toward the store with the same calm rhythm, as if this was just another stop on a long road. Simple jeans. Worn boots. An old flannel shirt, now torn. Inside, the cashier watched nervously as the tension thickened outside. She'd seen bikers like this before. Loud men always looking for a reason to prove something. Chuck picked up a bottle of water and stood quietly near the counter, waiting. The biker leader noticed him then. At first, he just smirked. "Hey!" he called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Lines for people who matter." A few bikers chuckled. Chuck didn't respond. He kept his eyes forward, posture relaxed, breathing slow. That silence irritated the biker more than any insult. He stepped closer, boots heavy against the concrete. "You think you're special or something?" Still nothing. That's when the biker grabbed his shirt, and the moment everyone would remember. Now, as Chuck stood there with the torn fabric hanging loosely from his shoulders, the crowd waited for what usually came next. Anger. Fear. Begging. Instead, there was none of it. Chuck calmly adjusted his stance and looked around, not scanning for exits, not measuring threats, just observing. A teenage boy near the snack rack whispered, "Why isn't he scared?" An old truck driver shook his head slowly. "Because he doesn't need to be." The biker laughed again, louder this time, trying to reclaim the control he felt slipping. "You see this, folks," he said, spreading his arms. "This is what happens when you don't know your place." Chuck finally spoke, his voice even and controlled. "Places are for things," he said, "not people." The biker rolled his eyes. "Man, you talk too much." Chuck took a sip of water, recapped the bottle, and set it down on the counter, slowly, deliberately. That simple movement made the room quieter. Somewhere in the back, an older man stared at Chuck's face, his eyes widening. "No way," he murmured. The biker noticed the shift. "What?" he snapped. "Why's everyone looking at him like that?" Chuck turned to face him fully now. "You don't need to do this," Chuck said. "There's still time to walk away." The biker scoffed. "From you." He stepped closer, invading Chuck's space, expecting fear. What he found instead was something he didn't understand. Calm. Unshaken. And for the first time that afternoon, the biker felt unsure. Because this wasn't a man trapped in a bad situation. This was a man who had chosen to stand still. The biker stepped even closer, so close that his breath brushed against Chuck's face. "You still standing?" he mocked. "Either you're brave, or you're stupid." Chuck didn't move. He didn't lean back. He didn't tense up. He simply looked at the biker the way a teacher looks at a student who's about to make a mistake. "I've met men like you before," Chuck said calmly. "Always loud. Always angry." The biker laughed, sharp and forced. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," Chuck replied. "You think fear makes you strong." That struck a nerve. The biker shoved Chuck's shoulder hard. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. "Touch me again," the biker growled, "and you're not walking out of here." Chuck took one slow step back, not in retreat, but to reset his balance. "Threats don't change outcomes," he said. "They just reveal character." The biker turned to his friends, spreading his arms. "You hearing this guy? He's giving speeches now." Laughter broke out, but it was uneven. Some of the bikers shifted their weight. Others glanced around. Something about this felt wrong. Chuck reached up and calmly removed the torn shirt completely, folding it neatly in his hands. The deliberate calm unsettled everyone watching. A young woman whispered, "Why does it feel like he's in control?" The biker stepped forward again, fist clenched. "Last chance," he snapped. "Apologize. Right now." Chuck met his eyes. "No." That single word landed heavier than any insult. The biker swung. Not clean. Not precise. Just raw anger. But Chuck moved. In one smooth motion, he turned his shoulder, redirecting the punch past him. The biker stumbled forward, surprised. Before anyone could react, Chuck caught his wrist, not violently, just firmly, and twisted slightly. The biker gasped as pain shot through his arm. "Let go," he shouted. Chuck leaned in, voice low, controlled. "This is where you stop." The biker panicked and tried to pull free, throwing wild punches with his other hand. Chuck stepped inside the swing, blocked it, and guided the biker off balance. They hit the ground, not with chaos, but with precision. The biker was pinned. One knee on the concrete. One arm locked behind his back. The crowd erupted. "Is that real? How did he do that? He didn't even hit him." The biker's face pressed against the pavement. "Get off me," he yelled, panic replacing confidence. Chuck didn't tighten the hold. He didn't need to. "Breathe," he said quietly. "Fighting yourself is what hurts." The biker froze. For the first time in years, someone had stopped him without rage. Phones recorded. Engines idled. Even the other bikers didn't move. "Who are you?" the biker asked, his voice shaking. Chuck released the pressure slightly and helped him back to his feet. "It doesn't matter," Chuck said. "What matters is what you do next." The biker staggered back, arm aching, pride shattered. The crowd stood silent. Because they all understood something now. The ripped shirt wasn't the moment of humiliation. It was the moment the wrong man was chosen. For a moment, no one spoke. The gas station felt frozen in time, engines idling, a soda can rolling slowly across the concrete, phone still raised in shaky hands. The biker who had ripped the shirt stood there, rubbing his wrist, eyes wide. His chest still rose and fell fast, like he was trying to convince himself he hadn't just lost control. His friends didn't laugh now. One of them took a step back. Another lowered his phone. "What just happened?" someone whispered. Chuck stood a few feet away, calm as ever. No heavy breathing. No clenched fists. He picked up the folded remains of his torn shirt and held it loosely in one hand. A truck driver near the pumps broke the silence. "I've seen bar fights, street fights," he said slowly. "That wasn't either." The cashier leaned forward, eyes locked on Chuck. "He didn't even look angry," she whispered. The biker leader swallowed hard. "That was a lucky move," he muttered, trying to sound tough. "You got lucky." Chuck shook his head slightly. "Luck runs out," he said. "Training doesn't." That word echoed in the biker's mind. Training. A murmur spread through the crowd. Did he say training? "Who is this guy?" One older man stepped closer, squinting at Chuck's face. The lines, the eyes, the unmistakable calm. "No way," he said under his breath. Chuck noticed him and gave a small nod, not recognition, but respect. The biker followed the man's gaze. "What?" he snapped. "What are you all staring at?" Nobody answered him. That silence felt heavier than laughter. A younger biker leaned in and whispered urgently, "Bro, I think that's Chuck Norris." The leader scoffed, forcing a laugh. "Yeah, right. And I'm the president." But doubt crept in. He looked at Chuck again, really looked. The posture. The presence. The way everyone else had gone quiet. Chuck met his eyes, expression unreadable. "It wouldn't change anything if you knew my name," Chuck said calmly. "Respect isn't name-based." The biker's confidence cracked. "Then why didn't you fight back sooner?" he demanded. "Why wait?" Chuck replied without hesitation. "Because the strongest move is giving someone a chance to stop." That hit harder than the hold ever did. The crowd shifted closer now, curiosity overpowering fear. Phones stayed up, but no one shouted. A woman murmured, "He let him choose." The biker's jaw tightened. For the first time, shame replaced anger. He looked around at his crew. No cheers. No support. Just uncertainty. "Man," one biker said quietly, "we should go." Chuck stepped aside, clearing the path. "You're free to leave," he said. "No one's blocking you." The leader hesitated. Leaving felt like defeat. But staying felt worse. He took one step back. Then another. Before he turned away, Chuck spoke one last time. "Remember this," he said. "Strength isn't proven by who you push down, but by who you choose not to." The biker paused, shoulders slumped. He nodded once, small, almost invisible. As they walked away, whispers followed them. "That really was him, wasn't it? I can't believe what I just saw." Chuck picked up his bottle of water, paid at the counter, and walked out into the sunlight. Behind him, the gas station slowly came back to life. But everyone there knew. They hadn't just seen a fight. They had witnessed control, without cruelty. Chuck had just stepped outside when a sudden voice cut through the air. "Sir, wait." He stopped. The voice belonged to the older man who had been watching quietly from the pumps. His hands were shaking slightly as he walked closer, phone already out. "Forgive me," the man said, almost out of breath. "I just need to know." Chuck turned to face him. The man swallowed hard. "Are you Chuck Norris?" The name hit the air like thunder. A woman gasped. Someone dropped their phone. Whispers exploded all at once. "No way. It can't be. That's actually him." Chuck didn't smile. He didn't deny it either. "Yes," he said simply. The gas station erupted. People rushed forward, not shouting, almost reverent. Phones were raised higher now, hands shaking. "That explains everything," someone whispered. The biker leader froze mid-step. His face drained of color. Chuck Norris. The man he had shoved. The shirt he had ripped. His legs felt weak. He turned slowly, disbelief written across his face. No, man, you're joking. Chuck looked at him calmly. I wish that mattered. The biker's voice cracked. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Chuck walked closer, not threatening, not angry, just present. That's the point, Chuck said. You shouldn't need a name to show respect. The biker's shoulders dropped. His tough image shattered in seconds. I thought strength was being the loudest guy in the room, he admitted. I thought fear meant power. Chuck nodded slightly. Most people do. Until life teaches them otherwise. The crowd listened in complete silence. One young man said quietly, "He could have destroyed him." Chuck shook his head. "That's not strength," he replied. "That's insecurity with muscles." The biker looked down at the torn shirt still in Chuck's hand. "I'll pay for that," he said quickly. "I'll buy you 10 of them." Chuck handed him the fabric. "Keep it," he said. "Let it remind you." A pause followed. Then the biker did something no one expected. He extended his hand. Chuck looked at it for a moment, then shook it. No cheers. No applause. Just understanding. Someone near the back whispered, "This is going online." And it did. Within hours, clips flooded social media. Titles flashed across screens. Biker picks the wrong man. Why you never judge a quiet stranger. Chuck Norris teaches respect without a punch. The biker watched one of the videos later that night, sitting alone. For the first time, he didn't feel embarrassed. He felt grateful. Back at the gas station, Chuck finished his water, nodded to the cashier, and walked toward his truck. As he drove away, the older man called out, "Thank you for the lesson." Chuck raised one hand in acknowledgement. No speeches. No interviews. Just a reminder left behind. The strongest people don't announce themselves. They don't need to. The gas station slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Engines restarted. Doors opened and closed. The hum of everyday life crept back in. But something had changed. The biker stood near his motorcycle, helmet in hand, staring at the torn piece of fabric Chuck had given him. The laughter that once came so easily was gone. His crew waited silently. No jokes. No bravado. One of them finally spoke. "Man, you okay?" The biker nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. "But not the same." He looked toward the road where Chuck's truck had disappeared. "I thought being feared meant being respected," he admitted. "I was wrong." Another biker shifted uncomfortably. "You didn't know who he was." The leader shook his head. "That's what makes it worse." Inside the store, the cashier let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "I thought it was going to turn ugly," she said to a customer. "So did I," the woman replied. "But he chose peace." Outside, people replayed videos on their phones, whispering in disbelief. "He could have hurt him. But he didn't. That's real strength." The older man who had recognized Chuck leaned against his truck, smiling faintly. "Some lessons come loud," he said. "And some come quiet." The biker finally put his helmet on. Before mounting his bike, he turned to the crowd. "I was wrong," he said, voice steady but humbled. "That man didn't owe me anything, and still taught me something." No one laughed. A few people nodded. As the bikes pulled away, they didn't rev their engines. They didn't show off. They just rode. Back on the highway, the biker replayed the moment in his head, the calm voice, the controlled movement, the chance to walk away. He realized something uncomfortable. Strength wasn't about dominance. It was about restraint. That night, he stopped at another gas station. This time, he held the door open for an older man. A small act, but it felt heavy with meaning. Meanwhile, Chuck drove in silence, the road stretching endlessly ahead. He didn't think about the crowd or the cameras. He thought about choices. About how easily anger spreads, and how rare it is for calm to stop it. At a red light, he glanced at his reflection in the mirror. The torn shirt was gone. The lesson remained. The light turned green. Chuck drove on. Behind him, dozens of people would tell the story. They would argue about what mattered more, the name, the strength, or the moment. But Chuck already knew the answer. You don't change the world by overpowering it. You change it by showing it a better way. By the time the road grew quiet again, one truth remained. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't shout in crowded places. It doesn't tear shirts or demand attention. And it definitely doesn't need fear to feel powerful. Real strength stands still when provoked. That afternoon at the gas station wasn't about a biker losing a fight. It was about a man being given a choice, and finally seeing the difference between ego and control. The biker had everything people usually associate with power. Size. Confidence. A crew that backed him up. But none of it helped when faced with someone who didn't need to prove anything. Chuck Norris didn't win because of his name. He won because he didn't let anger decide his actions. That's the part most people miss. Anyone can react. Anyone can explode. Anyone can push back when pushed. But it takes discipline to pause. It takes courage to stay calm when you're being disrespected. And it takes real strength to walk away without humiliating the other person. The biker learned that respect isn't taken. It's earned. And it's earned long before anyone knows your name. Think about how many times we judge people by appearances. By age. By clothes. By silence. We assume quiet means weak. We assume calm means afraid. But sometimes, calm is confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. That's why moments like this go viral. Not because someone got hurt, but because someone chose not to hurt. Because deep down, people recognize real power when they see it. The lesson isn't about Chuck Norris. It's about how you treat the person standing in front of you. Because the stranger you disrespect today might be the one teaching you tomorrow. And even if they're not famous, even if they don't have status, even if they don't have power over you, they're still worthy of respect. That's what makes this story bigger than a gas station. Bigger than a biker. Bigger than a torn shirt. It's a reminder. You don't need to dominate to be strong. You don't need to humiliate to feel important. And you don't need anger to command respect. True power is quiet. True confidence is controlled. And true respect starts with how you treat people when no one is forcing you to be kind. So the next time someone tests your patience, pause. The next time someone disrespects you, breathe. Because how you respond says more about your strength than anything else ever could. If this story taught you something, type respect in the comments. Not for Chuck. Not for the biker. But as a reminder to yourself. And tell me, where are you watching from? I read every comment, and I want to thank you personally. If you believe calm is the strongest response, like this video. If you believe humility is real power, share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And if you enjoy stories that reveal the truth behind strength, ego, and respect, subscribe. Because sometimes, the loudest lessons are taught in silence. Folded hands.